Among the many things the pandemic has exposed have been the deep social and racial inequities that run throughout the U.S. Add to that the killings of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and too many others, and the calls to address systemic racism have grown just louder and louder. So what better place to learn those lessons than in school? Cristina Quinn has more.
Back in June, when the Black Lives Matter protests first broke out in cities across the country, something happened. They kept going, radiating throughout the suburbs, hopping oceans, and crossing borders. There was an undeniable momentum, one that teacher Joanna Chacon and her colleagues wanted to seize.
This summer has opened up spaces in which teachers have begun to speak more openly and honestly about race in our school systems.
Chacon is an English teacher at Newton South High School and was inspired by the work of Dr. Bettina Love, a pioneer of abolitionist teaching, a form of instruction rooted in combating systemic oppression and racism. So Chacon and her colleagues formed a book club to discuss anti-racist teaching. That quickly evolved into an online conference.
Within days, we had hundreds of teachers from 7 states. Now we're in all 50 states and we're in 24 countries.
Almost 6,000 teachers and counting are attending the National Educator Anti-Racism Conference. Bettina Love and other education experts will provide training on how to create an anti-racist school and curriculum in every subject.
Anti-racism means that I'm teaching lessons that go in depth about communities of color and doesn't just teach about the oppression those communities face.
Lessons that Amani Fonfield, a rising senior at Newton South, says everyone should learn. In early June, she staged a die-in in front of Newton City Hall during a Black Lives Matter protest. She says conversations about race happen at her school, but not with everybody.
And it gets frustrating when I'm the only voice, the only black voice that has to represent a whole culture. And it's intimidating, and I don't think I should have to.
Fonfield will be leading a students and anti-racism discussion this weekend. She's hopeful this conference is the first step towards lasting change.
I don't expect us to have the conversations around race normalized immediately. I do think that teachers will really reflect on what they've done in the past or what they haven't done.
That level of introspection is why Kate Fussner is attending the conference. 3 years ago, she changed her 9th grade English curriculum at Fenway High School in Boston to better reflect the largely Black and Latinx student population.
My curriculum focuses on giving students choice to find what they love to read and to find their voices, their inspiration in living writers, in particular writers of color and queer writers.
Fussner says this conference is an opportunity for white educators, who make up the vast majority of public school teachers in this country, to build on the momentum that teachers of color have built over generations.
We need to be there to push each other and to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because ultimately I think that's what's going to move us forward.
When the conference wraps up next week, the hope is that teachers attending will contribute lesson plans to a database accessible to any teacher who sees racial justice as part of their calling. Cristina Quinn, WGBH News.
That conference, of course, is virtual this year, but it's completely free. Again, it starts this weekend. And you can find more information about that and other tools and resources at edantiracism.com.